Well, good morning. My name is Angel Sanchez. I am the chairman of the Jurupa Valley Adoptive Family. And once again, I want to welcome you to our May Small Business Webinar Series, Economic Development Partnerships, which is sponsored by Phoenix Technology, Inc. of Riverside, California. Today's presentation will be completed by Sergio De La Garza. He is the Veterans Employment Representative for the California Employment Development Department. Wendy Merlino, who is a Business Solutions Consultant for the Riverside County Workforce Development Center, and Ryan Swier, the Economic Development Analyst for the California State Employment Training Panel. And a little bit about today's presentation. Not only am I the chair of the Jurupa Valley Adoptive Family, but I'm also Chief Operating Officer of a manufacturing company here in Riverside, California. And we have been blessed with the opportunity to take advantage of many of the programs that will be discussed during today's presentation. And that has helped us grow our business tremendously over the last several years. So those of you who are on the call and those of you that will be watching the recording, you will definitely have an opportunity to benefit from the information that will be presented today. A little bit of housekeeping. On your GoToWebinar software program, there are a couple of avenues that you can take to communicate with us during the call. Each of you are on muted phone lines. We will release the lines later in the call during our Q&A period, but until that point, you will all be muted. So if you have a question on something relevant to the current conversation, you can type it in under the questions category, and our presenters will be able to see that. Some of the questions they will try to respond to immediately, and others we may hold until the Q&A session. There's also under your area that you can raise your hands. If you're having trouble hearing us or the screen goes blank or anything like that, please try to notify us as soon as possible so that we can pause the presentation and ensure the technology is repaired quickly. Again, this is hosted by the Jurupa Valley Adoptive Family a Career in Business Assistance Program and sponsored by Phoenix Technology. So without further ado, I'd like to turn over the mic to Mr. Sergio De La Garza, and he is going to provide a presentation today on the Work Opportunity Tax Credit.
Thank you, Angel. Good morning to everybody. Just real quick before we get started, I just wanted to say that although this the Work Opportunity Tax Credit is a federal program, I'm going to be, there we go, that's who we are. Those are our offices. But as I was saying, it is a federal program that's available to anybody outside of the state of California. But because I am an employee here in the state of California, it's more geared towards that. So everything that we'll be saying is California specific in a sense as far as the details, but it is a program available to anybody nationwide, and we can give you that information a little bit later. So we're going to start off our objectives for today. I think we've got 5 or 6. We're going to discuss what the WOTC is, what the advantages are to businesses, who are the eligible people, how much is the tax credit, how you apply. There should be a few more here. And finally, some information and resources. So first off, what is it? The Work Opportunity Tax Credit is a federal tax credit available to employers who hire individuals from eligible target groups with significant barriers to employment. Please. There we go. And so we're going to start off with the first one, the second one. What are the advantages to businesses? Well, the WOTC reduces an employer's cost of doing business, requires little paperwork, and applying for the WOTC is simple. The WOTC can reduce business and federal income tax liabilities by as much as $9,600 per employee hired. And this is jumping on its own. Here we go. Now, remember that the $9,600, that's a best-case scenario. Every single applicant that is put in for the WOTC is judged on its own merits, and there are certain standards and criteria that need to be met. So the $9,600 is a best-case scenario. I like to manage expectations, and I don't want you to go in there thinking that you've got $9,600 in the bank. Okay, so that may change depending on the situation. Another advantage is that there's no limit on the number of individuals a business can hire to qualify to claim the tax credit. So over time, if you are hiring people from the target groups, if you have 100 employees and all 100 fall into one of the target groups, you could be getting up to $9,600 times 100 employees, so you could see where this becomes beneficial to a business. One of the other advantages is that certain tax-exempt organizations can take advantage of the WOTC by hiring eligible veterans and receiving a credit against the employer's share of Social Security taxes. So if you are a tax-exempt organization, of course, you're not paying taxes per se, so they're not going to give you credit for something that you didn't pay into, but you will get a break on the Social Security portion that the business actually pays. This appears to be running in its own slideshow, so it's jumping forward. So if you see it jumping back and forth, that's what's going on, a little glitch over here. Hopefully it's not too distracting. So we talked about the target groups and who is eligible. Veterans are eligible, TANF recipients, SNAP food stamps, designated community representatives, residents, vocational rehabilitation referrals, ex-felons, supplemental security income recipients, and summer youth employees. So you can see it's pretty big. They pretty much speak for themselves, but towards the end of it, I'll be giving you some websites that you could go to where you could get a little bit more information and more detailed information on each one of those categories and who falls into those categories. How much is the tax credit? Employers can earn a tax credit of between $1,200 and $9,600 per employee, depending on the target group of the new employee and the number of hours worked per year. Again, for those that are outside of the state of California, you'll be going to your local state workforce agencies. You can just do a Google or a Bing search on America's Job Centers, put in your state, and it'll tell you where all the state employment agencies are at that can help you and provide you with more information on this. One of the caveats is the employees must work at least 120 hours in the first year of employment to receive the tax credit. There are also a few other stipulations as far as the retention time and things like that. And again, those can be found in the resources that we'll provide at the end. So now how do you apply? It is a federal program, so of course there's forms that must be filled out. You have to complete the IRS Form 8850 by the day the job offer is made. So if you have already hired folks, you can't use it for those folks. It has to be, that form has to be completed on the day that they apply. You can do a quick search for, what happened here? We're going back. There we go. You can do a quick search on the IRS Form 8850. I'm sure they're available online as a PDF. I would suggest you making copies of those and make that part of your intake for new employees. They can fill out that form, and then you've got it done, signed, and dated on the date that they started up. That should cover you as far as that goes. Just make it a part of your everyday intake for new employees. Also, you need to complete the ETA Form 9061 or the ETA Form 9062 if the employee has been conditionally certified as belonging to a WOTC target group by a state workforce agency, vocational rehabilitation agency, or another participating agency. Basically, what ends up happening is you may get an employee, a new employee coming in that has a filled out 9062. That 9062 you're going to get from the state workforce agency. They're the ones that are going to fill out the majority of it. So if it is, if they come in with that 9062, all that the employer or the business has to do is fill in the section for the business and then submit that rather than the 9061. Once you get those, you have to submit the completed and signed IRS and ETA forms to your state workforce agency. Forms must be submitted within 28 calendar days of the employee's start date. So you have 4 calendar weeks after the start of employment to get that information in and submit it. Now, A little more expectation management here. You see where it says that forms must be submitted to your state workforce agency. Each state will be a little bit different. For the state of California, it is actually done online. And again, more information is at the website that we'll give on the back. So all of that can be filed electronically, and it is the preferred and quickest way to do it. They also provide you with an address. So say a state workforce agency, there isn't a person that specializes in doing these approvals at each state agency that you go to. They are all funneled into one central location, and for us it's online or via mail, and I'm sure it's probably the same in other states as well. Once you have submitted, you're going to wait for final determination from the state workforce agency. The determination will indicate whether the employee is certified as meeting the eligibility for one of the WOTC target groups. That is in the case of filing the 9061, which is the one that the business files completely. If you're getting it from the 9062, that determination has already been made. It just makes the process a little bit quicker. Okay. After the target group employee is certified by the state workforce agency, file for the tax credit with the Internal Revenue Service. And that should be something that your accountant or tax preparer should be familiar with. And after they've done one or two of them, it becomes second nature to finish them up. And when you do your quarterly taxes, you'll be applying for those tax credits. And we keep on jumping. So in a nutshell, that's how you go ahead and do that. I kept on referring to information on where to go. Here's for ourselves in the state of California, the Employment Development Department for work opportunity tax credit information. And this is being recorded, so you'll be able to get back in there and pause it at this section. I know it's a very long URL. I was kind of playing with maybe putting it into a tiny URL format, but then you don't know what it is because it says tiny URL and some numbers. So at least over here you could see that it is about the tax incentives and the tax credits. This is the information for the Department of Labor. They are the originators of this, so a lot of good information there as well. And finally, we've got from the IRS. And theirs is even longer. Like everything with the IRS, they're going to bury it and make sure that you can't find it because you're taking money away from them, and they don't like that. So you didn't hear that from me. I think also at the beginning of it, they had my contact information on the first slide, and it's at the end as well. Oh, there you go. So if you have any other questions, you can give me a call. That is my desk number, and that is my work email. And I will get that information back to you as soon as I can, excuse me. And I don't see any questions on the side. So given that, we will go ahead and pass the baton to Wendy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Merlino, and I'm a business solutions consultant with the County of Riverside Workforce Development Center. Our job centers are now being referred to as America's Job Centers, and I'm excited to speak with you this morning regarding the services that we offer in both San Bernardino and Riverside County. As Sergio had mentioned, this is federally funded, some of the activities that I'm going to go over. So we are concentrating today on California, but they are available, I'm sure, in other states, most likely under a different name. So what I'd like to do is first share with you the locations of America's Job Centers of California. You see we are broadcasting this morning from Riverside. There's also an office in Murrieta. We have Indio, Rancho Cucamonga, San Bernardino, and Victorville. Some of the business services that we offer here in the Inland Empire are we try to make hiring easy for you by doing some pre-screening and assessment of people so you don't get a large pile of resumes of people who are not qualified for your positions. So we do pre-screening and assessment, and we will send you the top candidates, so that does not take your time. We also do recruitment assistance. We will come to your site and do an on-site recruitment, or you can come to one of our centers that I just mentioned. We can give you some labor market information. If you're looking for specific, for example, you want a machinist in San Bernardino County and you want to know what the wages are for that, we can supply you with that information through our labor market information, as well as a lot more information there. You'll see there a Mobile One. What the Mobile One is a large RV that will pull up to any job fair or recruitment, and it has about 7 computers inside that the people attending the job fair can go ahead and apply for those jobs right then and there. So if you're in an outlying area, or if you're in a place where people need that computer access, we can go ahead and deploy our Mobile One. Now that is in Riverside County. Of course, we also do job fairs. We can conduct those at your site or our site. And in San Bernardino, they have an HR hotline. And what that is if you have an HR question, somebody's going on maternity leave, or somebody is, you want to terminate somebody, you don't know what the rules are, you would call this HR hotline. Now, how can we save you money? That is our goal as a business services team, is to save you money. So we have a program called On-the-Job Training. And On-the-Job Training is a federally funded program. We can, if you hire an eligible individual, and that's determined through your workforce center, if you want to hire that person, we would determine them eligible, and on-the-job training would be put into place. And what that is it's 480 hours of training, on-the-job training, and we will pay 50% of the wages for that first 480 hours of training, which is roughly 3 months full-time. So in Riverside County, full-time is considered 32 hours a week, and in San Bernardino County, it is considered 35 hours per week. And it's a fairly simple process. I know sometimes federally funded programs are very difficult and very time-consuming, but this one has a 3-day turnaround, and that's maximum. On-the-job training, we will collect business documents from you. For example, it's not a lot of documents. It is an example of that would be your current liability insurance. That's one of the documents. So we will collect the documents from you. We will also ask you for the job skills that you're looking for in this person, so that we can put together what's called a training plan. The training plan is going to show what the actual on-the-job training is going to teach this individual. We put together an agreement of training, and once we do that, you can actually hire the individual. And like I said, there's like a 3-day turnaround there. Once they're hired with you, they can't use the program. So it's very important that the agreement of training is put in place before you hire the individual. So once that's done and everything is signed, you can hire the individual and begin the training. And that will be a 50% reimbursement for the first 480 hours of training. Other business services that we have are business assistance referrals. These referrals include direct points of contact. We would introduce the business to the resource and actually intervene for the business if needed. So what that means is if you would like a referral to the Small Business Administration, we would actually tell you who to contact there. And if you couldn't get a hold of that person, we could certainly find somebody for you to speak to. So on this page, you will see a lot of different resources that we use to assist. including economic development agencies and cities, CMTC. You'll see right in the middle the State of California ETP, which is Employment Training Panel. And we're lucky to have with us this morning Ryan Swier from the Employment Training Panel in the State of California. And he's going to talk to you about customized training to help offset the cost of training. Ryan?
Actually, before, this is Angel Sanchez again. I just wanted to comment on several things that Wendy mentioned. Our company, I mentioned at the beginning, has taken advantage of a number of these programs. Pre-screening and assessment has been wonderful. In fact, I worked with Wendy just yesterday on a new position we are opening up. We were looking for salary information and opening a requisition, and it was done in a matter of no time. And from a business perspective, the amount of invested time is very minimal. And it's the same thing that I found with the on-the-job training contracts that we've taken advantage of. It's, oftentimes people are concerned about how much time it's going to take away from their overall business operations to complete paperwork and fill out contracts and so forth. And it's incredibly minimal. They do a majority of the work for you. You just, in most cases, have to review the material, provide a little bit of data, and sign and make things happen. So don't let the concern of what I think a lot of times we're afraid of, bureaucracy, go away. It's an amazingly quick program. Each of these are amazingly quick program to instill, and will definitely benefit you. So my apologies, Ryan. I just wanted to throw those 2 cents in there and talk about our experience with Riverside County on this.
Not a problem. It's important stuff. All right. Well, my name is Ryan Swier. I work for the State of California with the Employment Training Panel. I'm actually located down in the San Diego office, but my territory includes San Diego, Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside, and Imperial counties. We have 4 offices statewide. We're a small agency, less than 100 employees statewide, but we do cover the entire state. So if you're not in my territory, you can still contact me. I'll have a telephone conversation with you, and if for any reason you want to meet with somebody face-to-face, I'll definitely connect you with them. A little bit of background with me with ETP. I started in 2007, and I started as a contract analyst. So I put these contracts together. I also monitored them, and also was there for the entire process from the beginning to end. And about 4 years ago, I switched over roles to marketing the program. So I'm kind of the first man that you meet with at ETP with any questions, and I'm more than happy to go over the program with you and let you know if it's a good fit for you or not, and if it is, get you situated with getting one of these training contracts. So moving forward, what is ETP? We are an agency with the state. It's only for California employers, and it's basically is a funding source that we offer employers for every hour that they train their employees. What we do not do is we do not provide the training, we do not mandate the training topics, and we do not select or approve the trainers. That is up to the employer. They're the experts, and they know what training needs they have for those companies. The purpose of these funds is to upgrade those skills of those California workers, especially for those individuals that face out-of-state competition, meaning the company could up and leave the state to go to another state or another country to operate. We want to keep those jobs here in California and have those folks be as efficient as possible. So that's the kind of the purpose for these funds. So as far as who's eligible to receive these funds, it's anyone that pays into that tax. But it's mainly for those companies that have those out-of-state competition. So this is where it gets a little tricky, and I can help you out with it as well too to see if you're a good fit for ETP or not. But those priority industries, our main one is manufacturing, but we also have biotech, information technology, multimedia, entertainment industry, logistics, agriculture, healthcare, construction, and green technology. Now, those are our priority industries. Just because you're not on that list doesn't mean that you're not eligible. It just means you don't qualify as a priority industry. Down on the bottom, you can see where it says manufacturing industries. They're the only industry that is automatically deemed to have out-of-state competition. All of those other industries, we have to look and see if there's other companies located outside of the state of California that does business here in California that competes with the California business, or if you do business outside of California. And that's something I can assist you with to see if you have that criteria, that out-of-state competition or not. Just to let you know, we're getting refunded here in July. That's when our fiscal year starts. This past year, we had about $90 million that we wrote in contracts, and it looks like we're going to have about another $90 million this next fiscal year. So this is a good time to come forward. We have run out of funding for this current fiscal year, but like I said, we'll be refunded in July, so we'll have plenty of funding available. Now, this is a pay-for-performance contract, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky with ETP. Some folks think that it's an actual grant, but it's not. It's actually a performance-based contract. So on day one of this contract, you actually have earned $0 because there's some criteria you have to do to earn the funds. First, you have to actually do the training. And then also, after you do that training, which is documented, at the end of the contract, those employees have to be working full-time during a 35-hour or more per week, a work week. They have to be retained for 90 days of post-retention training. Typically, these contracts are 2 years, so you would have 21 months to train those folks. The final 3 months would be your retention period. And then also, those employees are going to have to make a certain ETP minimum wage. This is different from the state of California minimum wage, and I do have a table that's going to go over those different wages here in the Inland Empire. So who can train? Basically, all your, we call them retrainees. Those are really your incumbent workers, those existing employees. Anyone can train within the company. We also have a new criteria that's called job creation. And there's some incentives for these job creation trainees. These are any net new jobs that a company is bringing on. So it's not for replacing workers that retire or leave the company. It's for actual net new jobs. So if the company has 100 employees, they plan on bringing another 20 employees on. At the end of the contract, they'll have 120 employees. And you'll see the benefits as far as the reimbursement for those job creation retrainees during the presentation. Now, as far as who can do the training, it can be anybody internally in the company, located in or outside of California. However, if you are going to pay an external vendor, a training vendor, to come in and do the training, then they want that vendor to be from California. We can, however, get permission for out-of-state vendors. This happens a lot in the manufacturing industry. When there's a piece of equipment that you purchase from a different state and there's only people that can train on it, then it's really easy to get those approved. So basically, if there's no one in the state of California that can do that training, then we can get that approved. And then also you can use any training agencies. We have a lot of community colleges that offer training. And if you don't want to get your own agreement, we have a list of training agencies and colleges that hold ETP contracts that will come out and do free training for your company as well too. So now the wage requirement. The wages here, the actual wages here in the Inland Empire, they're a little bit higher in the bigger cities as far as San Diego, Orange County, LA, and San Francisco. You can see that for the retrainees in San Bernardino and Riverside County, they have to be making $15.60 an hour. And that wage only matters at the end of training. You can add in the employer-paid health benefits. That's health, dental, and vision. Normally that's $1 to $4, depending on your benefit package, to meet those ETP minimum wages. Now, if you have those job creation trainees, we can bring those wages way down to $12.77 an hour. The next line down, you'll see the high unemployment areas, and I've got a listing of those high unemployment areas in Riverside and San Bernardino County. In the larger cities, we don't have too many high unemployment areas, but in Central California and Eastern California, there's a lot of high unemployment areas, and that brings the wage way down for those companies located in those high unemployment areas, down to $11.70 for your incumbent workers, and down to the state minimum wage for those job creation trainees. Now, if for some reason you have a company that does not meet out-of-state competition, examples of that would be a retail store, a hospital, or a restaurant. They fall into a special category that's called SET, Special Employment Training, and those are much harder to get funded because those individuals have to be making the state average hourly wage, which is $28.37 an hour. Obviously, in those industries I just talked about, retail and the restaurants, those individuals aren't making that wage. But for hospitals, nurses are making that wage. So we have a lot of SET projects with those hospitals. So if you're not quite sure of how your company fits in, just give me a call and we can look into it. Now, as far as the curriculum that you choose, the company submits the curriculum to ETP. This is your curriculum. It's a cafeteria plan where you're going to pick and choose from the classes. You're going to try to put as many different training topics into that curriculum, so during the course of the contract, you'll be able to get reimbursed for those classes. And you can see over in the upper left-hand corner, there has class/lab hour training, and there's some numbers there, 8 to 200. That's how many hours those trainees can train. You're going to have some employees that are going to need a lot of training, some that don't need that much training. So it's going to be up to you to train those individuals for whatever their needs are. They have to just get at least 8 hours of training, and then they can get up to 200 hours of training. Now, as far as the training delivery methods, we have your basic classroom training. That's how most of our training takes place. Also laboratory. There is what we have called productive laboratory, and that's when there's actual production being taken place. That's limited up to 60 hours, but we do offer it, and that's something that we didn't offer several years ago. Distance learning, and then also computer-based training when there's no live instructor and the computer is the actual instructor. And then we have some ratios you can see down in the bottom. Mainly, all of our ratios, for the most part, are 1 instructor to 20 trainees. That's a ratio. So if you have a class that's over 20 trainees, you would need 2 instructors to 40 trainees. The only one where it's really limited is that productive laboratory. Generally, it's a one-on-one training, but we can get that up to 1 to 3 if needed. Now, as far as the reimbursement rates go, down on the very bottom, you can see the lowest reimbursement rate of $8 an hour. That's for any CBT training when there's no live instructor. And then the other wages go in between $15 and $26 an hour, depending on the size and type of company that you are. Well, you can see the strikeout, those are for non-priority industries. So if you're a non-priority small business, it's $22 an hour per person per hour of training, and for a large business, $15. And for those priority industries, the small businesses get the highest amount of $26 an hour, and those large businesses, which a large business is, according to ETP, is 100 or less employees here in California, but no more than 250 worldwide if you have a presence outside of California. And you can see the benefit for those large companies for the job creation retraining is whether they be priority or non-priority, they get a $20 reimbursement rate, which is higher than both of those other amounts for any job creation employees that they are bringing on. So I always like to give an example of a real-life project. This is Karma Automotive. Their headquarters are in Costa Mesa, and they are opening up a production plant where they're going to actually be doing car manufacturing here in Moreno Valley. This is a pretty large contract. We had the GoBiz department involved on this contract as well, too. It's for $835,000. They plan on bringing on around 600 employees. This contract just started December 31st of 2015. And you can see it's going to go for a two-year term, and it's going to end December 30th, 2017. So when I pulled the information on this contract, they had 2,392 hours tracked in their system. So based off of their reimbursement rate, they had a potential earnings of $46,000. This company has quite a bit of training that they're going to do before they're going to reach that 835-hour mark. And this is a good example just to show you that you have to do the training in order to get the reimbursement. So that's actually the end of my presentation. We've got a little thing that popped up. I'm not sure if you're seeing it or not. But at this time, the very last slide is our contact information for all 3 of us. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Angel just for some closing remarks.
Great, thank you, Ryan. So great information provided by all 3 of our presenters today. Questions have been relatively low, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up to question and answer period. So if you are interested in asking a question, we're going to keep everyone muted since a lot of people don't know how to find the mute button on their phone. If you have a question, though, on your software program there, if you can raise your hand or indicate that you have a question, we will unmute your line. So let's go ahead and open those lines up. we don't look like we, oh, there we go. We got a question from Anthony Cortez. Anthony, you should be off mute. Go ahead. Maybe not.
I didn't have a question.
Okay. All right, we'll give it another moment. And again, I continually share personal stories about this, and I've been involved with a number of ETP contracts with my current company as well as a former company I was with. And the ability to train incumbent workers is so crucial to the success of your company and the ability to strengthen it. The current company I'm with, we were able to really start training folks, because before that we couldn't afford to provide the level of training that was necessary to upskill each of our employees. And as a result of the ETP grant that we were able to get, we have been able to provide an incredible increase to their knowledge. So,
and just the disclaimers that apply as always is that we're showing you best case numbers. Everything is negotiated based upon the needs of the business and the amount of funding that we have available, such as when we were talking about when Wendy was speaking about the OJT program. That OJT program is up to 480 hours and up to 50% of their wages. It's not a guarantee. It depends on a lot of things, the industry, size of company, so on and so forth. But you won't know unless you apply. So we say go ahead and apply for it, and let the folks that administer that be the ones that tell you what the actual benefit is going to be.
well, great. It does not look like we have any questions. So we are going to actually give you guys back nearly an hour of your day, which works out wonderful. So I want to once again thank all three of our presenters, Sergio, Wendy, and Ryan. We've left their contact information up there. Hopefully you've had some time to write it down. I will leave it up there for another 30 seconds to a minute. This is part of our monthly webinar series, so we keep posted for upcoming webinars throughout the summer. And we also have recordings of this webinar as well as our Online Marketing 101 available on our YouTube channel. And we will put that information up on the web shortly. The recordings take usually 4 to 6 hours to actually get uploaded. So by this evening, if you want to watch this presentation again and catch something that you might have missed, if you joined late, or more importantly, others that you think would benefit from the information provided, please share the link with them. Thank you again for joining us. We hope you all have a wonderful and productive week. And we just saw Anthony Cortez. If you're still on the call, it looks like you actually did have a question. So I'm going to unmute your line again.
Hey.
We were just logging off. You had a question, so good timing. Go ahead and ask your question.
I had two questions. The one they already answered. If I wanted to show it to other people on my chamber website, I was going to be able to upload the link to that, correct?
Yeah, we will have, it'll, like I said, it takes, YouTube takes quite a while, especially from my office to upload stuff, but we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel. And it will also be available on GoToWebinar if they want to log in and register and watch through that. But I will send you the link out. Everyone that registered for the call, I will email out the link to it, and it will also be on the Harupa Valley Adopt a Family website and our Facebook and Twitter pages, a link for you to use. So it's just like any other YouTube thing. You'll be able to follow the link, or you can actually just type in the search function, Harupa Valley Adopt a Family Economic Partnerships presentation.
Perfect, thank you. And my other question, me being in the non-emergency transport business, would they be able to help me train in my field, or is this something, am I listening to this a little incorrectly?
Okay, so as far as your industry goes, it's probably going to be deemed not to have out-of-state competition. Actually, I know it's going to be deemed not to have out-of-state competition, so it's a little bit harder of a fit. However, if the company is growing with net new jobs, then that doesn't matter and can bring those wages down. So where you stand right now is that your employees, your current employees, would have to make that state average hourly wage of $28.37 an hour. However, we can bring that wage way down for job creation. So if you're actually adding on new jobs, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. And also, you could be eligible for on-the-job training for that, Anthony. If you are training your individuals in a new function, or you're hiring new people, we can put a contract in place to do that training if they're eligible for the funding.
Yeah, I'm a very small business, and I have, right now in the field, I just have 2 guys, including myself, and my training is, I just train them myself. And
right, which is fine. I mean, we could do on-the-job training for you if you were planning on hiring another person.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
And the other benefits that each of you as employers can take advantage of, not only just the on-the-job training, but finding talent is an incredibly challenging thing. And so, you know, even when we open up a position at our company, we may get dozens of resumes and applications, but once you screen through them all and really truly invest a tremendous amount of your time, you still don't have a candidate. And so Wendy and Antoinette and all of our resources that we have here in Riverside are able to provide us really with quality candidates, and they essentially, in a way, not to say this in a negative tone, but screen out applicants that we're not interested in talking to. And we wind up with just 1 or 2 or maybe a half dozen quality candidates to choose from. And, you know, that's, to me, priceless. Not only that, with the candidates that they provide, typically if the funding is available and we hire under the right auspices, then that on-the-job training comes in place. And I will say this, our company has seen growth of over 135% in net sales over the last 3 years. It's great numbers, but it's a challenge, and it's a great challenge to have, but you can't grow staffing and production capabilities at the same speed of your sales growth. And the only way we were able to keep up with those was through utilizing our on-the-job training program that's offered here in Riverside, and it's offered throughout, I believe that's a federal program as well, right? So even if you're outside the state of California, that's something that you can probably take advantage of. And 480 hours to be able to train somebody at a reduced level at the maximum is incredibly beneficial. So if you're looking to hire, or even if you think you can't afford to hire, I'd urge you to contact, whether it's Wendy here in Riverside or your San Bernardino contact or whatever county you're in, and find out if there's some opportunity for that, and it may help you bring on additional staffing and be able to continue growing. Looks like we have a question from Lisa. So Lisa, you are unmuted. Hi, Lisa, are you there? Lisa, I'll give you one more second here. Okay, that might have been an accidental hand raise. All right, well, Anthony, great questions. We appreciate you asking them because I think a lot of people don't realize that, hey, I'm a really small business. There's probably nothing that can be done for me, and that is quite the opposite. That's exactly why these programs are here, is to help grow small business. And I think, Sergio, we had a conversation just yesterday about small businesses in the United States represents, was it
80% of all the jobs nationwide are small to medium-sized businesses.
So 80% of the jobs nationwide are small to medium-sized businesses. So wonderful. Well, thank you again for taking the time today. We are going to actually, at least I'm going to give you one more shot. I'm going to unmute you again. Did you have any other questions? All right, well, thank you guys again. With that, we're going to end this webinar. And like I mentioned earlier, enjoy your day and have a productive week.